I'm very conflicted about this book. It's so weak on a lot of aspects, but there are some things it does really well, which makes it a lot of fun. We're going to talk about all the good and the bad, and then you can decide if this is for you or not. This is one of those books with a great blurb. The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller is a fantasy romance about Alessandra, who is tired of being overlooked and has a plan to gain power. She will woo the Shadow King, marry him, kill him, and take his kingdom for herself. But she's not the only one who wants to kill the king, so she has to keep him alive until he makes her his queen. It has a great cover too. There's a dagger with gems on it. I'm guessing that's Alessandra's dagger. She has a dagger in the book. It's resting on a black chair with flower ornaments and black rose petals falling. It has some red drapery behind the chair, I think. The colors are combinations of red and black with white titles saying "The shadows between us?" That bee design is a bit questionable. The top part of the bee is larger and the bottom is missing, so it looks more like an R to me. So please don't between us, shadows. But I really like it. It looks super cool. Anyway, going back to the plot, there are a lot of fundamental problems with the premise. Her plan doesn't really make sense to me. I cannot imagine any type of monarchy where once the king dies, the queen consort becomes the queen. Like, if the king dies, the crown wouldn't change families just because he was married. It would still go to whoever is next in line. The queen consort isn't part of the bloodline. She would not become the queen. Does that make sense? If they have a child, she could be like a queen warden or something, but that would be temporary until the heir comes of age. If it was too easy to change a royal family, that would be what everyone would do. It's the easiest way to kill the king. You're literally sleeping together. All the lords are bringing their daughters to marry the king. They would all have this ulterior motive to poison the king once he marries their daughter. And then the royal family would change. That's why it doesn't work like that. Especially in a monarchy where the royalty is determined by bloodline. So this king's family had the throne for many generations. There's no direct heir anymore, but apparently he has distant cousins, which is also confusing to me. There should always be a list for the line of succession. The king is dead, long live the king. There cannot be any gap, otherwise there would be turmoil. I don't know what kind of shitty kingdom this is, but it's not small. He's like the king of 6 kingdoms, and there are like 9 kingdoms or something. There's no line of succession. What happens if the king slips and falls and dies tomorrow? It's insane. This pretty much kills the whole premise of the book, particularly because there isn't much else in the book. It's focused on romance and politics, and the politics are just not well thought. So that turned me off quite a bit, but I just decided that she's young and naive and doesn't really know how things work. She is already a noble. She can marry any powerful man. She can do whatever she wants, but what is she gonna do even if she could be the queen? She doesn't have any policies in her mind or anything. She just wants attention. And guess what? She would get attention. They would have her killed in 5 seconds. The current king has sort of a shadow ability, and he is very difficult to kill. And they still try. With her, they would easily get the kill. That was one big problem with this character, that she was extremely shallow. She is sexually very active and has lots of partners, then dumps them, which I think is great, by the way. It's a fresh breath that she's not like a goody two-shoes character, but that's the extent of her personality. She does have a hobby. She designs her own dresses, which is nice, but that's about it. The king is the stereotypical brooding boyfriend type, has 0 personality. The side characters are kind of fun. They're not super complex either. However, here's what this book does well. It's really funny. At times it feels like a farcical opera. There's this guy who writes over-the-top love letters to her. At some point, there's a guy hiding in her closet. Then, like, at some point, she's digging a hole and digs too deep and can't get out. I really wish it leaned more on the fun part, because when it's not taking itself too seriously, this book is a lot of fun. I think that's generally the strength of the romance genre. You can be funny with it, and I really enjoyed the humor in this book. However, the fantasy aspects are quite lacking. First, world building is almost non-existent. 95% of the book takes place in the palace, so you don't really see much else anyway. But it's basically a very generic Western European medieval world. There's really nothing special about the world. They have electricity, which was weird because it's only used for the convenience of lighting. The depth of world building is like this much. I can make it smaller than this. If I could, it would be even less. But like, it's super shallow. A lot of fantasy readers love world building, so if you are like that, this book is definitely not for you. The magic only consists of the king's shadows. You learn a bit about them and they're significant to the plot, but that's all there is to it. Again, if you like magic systems in your fantasy books, you will get disappointed. I already mentioned it was romance heavy, but I want to reiterate it. There's barely any type of action, and the political intrigue part is quite lacking too. So this is basically for people who want to read a fun romance with characters with questionable morals in a medieval setting. They say it's a Slytherin romance, no redemption, just evil people. After seeing that description, I had a lot of doubts because I don't think that's complex. Having a super selfish character who just wants to get the throne and become the queen is not complex enough for me. At no point did I ever care about her getting a throne. Before I read the book, I thought maybe the king would be evil, or maybe she wants to take revenge from him for something he did, or maybe she was from a rival kingdom, but she actually has no motives. She really is just a selfish person who wants to be powerful, which to me is extremely boring. I don't care about it at all. I cannot imagine why anyone would. And she's not like a cunning ruler or anything, so you would be like, oh wow, I hope she becomes the queen. She'd be great at it or anything like that. However, the book does something incredibly well, and that is a very important one to me. What she wants is actually different from what she needs. I really like it when this is done well, and this book does it so well. I loved seeing her change. I love seeing her finding things and people she cares about. There are a lot of fun friendships in this book. There are a few moving scenes, and to me that was so remarkable that I can actually recommend this book. I gave it 3 stars because of all the shortcomings, but it could have been 4. I really thought maybe I would give 4 because it just moved me. It's such a silly little book, around 85,000 words. It has no world building, barely any magic, shallow politics, basic characters, but it just has great character development. And I found it moving. So if you don't necessarily care about genre-specific fantasy elements and want to read a fun medieval romance over the weekend, I think you could give this a chance. Anyway, if you read this, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews from me, and I'll see you next time.
Goose breathe. Goose breathe. Scent. Lilac. Goose breathe. Lilac. Goose breathe.